Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Crafting and Crime Daily. This is the channel where I recap live trials so you have something to listen to while you're crafting, or you could just listen and not be crafting. This is also available as a podcast on YouTube Music. Thanks for watching. And today we're covering the trial of Chad Daybell. Day 21 of this trial. 21 days of testimony, time that I will never get back in my life. But yeah, day 21, a lot going on day 21. Chad's on trial for the murders of Tally Ryan and JJ Vallow. Those are the minor children of Lori Vallow, Daybell, his current wife, who is in prison, having been sentenced for the same murders and conspiracy to commit murders of her children. And Tammy Daybell, his wife, she is serving multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole. He's on trial for the death penalty should he be convicted of the murders of those two children. And he's also on trial for the conspiracy to commit and the commission of murder of his wife, Tammy Daybell, the one he was married to, and then she dies, and then 2 weeks later he marries Lori Daybell. Anyway, if you have trouble keeping track of this, just go back and listen from day one and catch up. It's all playlisted. There you go. So yesterday we have the deputy medical examiner, not medical examiner, coroner. There's a difference. So in very small locations, I'm crocheting, by the way, in very small locations, they have coroners instead of medical examiners because medical examiners are doctors and they're very expensive, and so they'll have a coroner come out to these unexpected deaths or deaths that are unattended by medical professional. Now, this woman was not the coroner. She was the deputy coroner, and her background is that of a EMT, emergency medical technician. That's her medical background. But she responds to these deaths when the coroner is not available. And the coroner happened to be on her way from a distance. So she goes ahead and she goes on over there. Now, she's brand new to this position. She'd only been to 5 or 6 deaths as in this position, so not very long into this position. Either that or they just don't have that many deaths in Rexburg. So she said that Chad Daybell was there and that she thought he was appropriate, distraught, and he told her that in the last month or so, she had been very clumsy, that she had been lightheaded, and she was suffering from hypotension. But, nothing major was going on with her. That's what he said. So he said that she had been coughing around midnight, and then, they had this coughing fit, and then she goes to bed. They go to bed, or apparently they were in bed. They had gotten up when she had this coughing fit. They go back to bed and they go back to sleep. And in the morning, he wakes up when she falls out of bed. And then he explained to her that she was menopausal and that she liked to sleep with one leg out of the covers to keep cool. And he thinks that's why she was in the position she was in. Because when she died, she was like half, or when they found her, she was half in the bed and half out of the bed. Okay, so she described this phenomena of pink foam coming out of Tammy's mouth, and she didn't do anything about it because she didn't wipe it away or anything because she knew the coroner was on her way. So when the coroner gets there, she wiped it away and it comes right back because she thought that was really odd. So she gets her phone and she starts Googling poisonings, thinking, maybe there's a link between this pink foam and poisoning. She said, it was a very limited search and she didn't really find anything, which is interesting because I certainly found stuff when I Googled it. It's a sign of cyanide. It's a sign of asphyxia. It could be a sign of poisoning. Anyway, but she wasn't poisoned. We know later on it was asphyxia. So she when she visualized Tammy, she said she was in the bed and her legs were very stiff. So she knew she hadn't died right away. She had been dead for at least a few hours. She noticed bruises on her biceps, but she thought they looked old. Now, she was asked about an autopsy. And she said it wasn't up to her. That was up to the coroner to get an autopsy done. But she did say that, she was present when Chad said that they didn't want an autopsy. Yeah, interesting, huh? So then the next couple of people on the stands were Samantha and Jason William, who Samantha is Tammy's younger sister, and they were tight, thick as thieves. They grew up together. At one point, they were living across the street from each other during their marriages, and anytime that they would move, they would always be within blocks of each other. They were very, very tight. And as a result, Chad gets very, very tight with Jason. They become, fast friends. And sorry to say, but Jason was buying what Chad was selling, it's a shame. So Samantha tells the jury that she and her sister talked every day. She was surprised when she moved to Idaho, and Chad tried to talk them into moving to Idaho, and they were just like, they weren't having it. They just said it wasn't for them. And there's a little bit more on that I'll talk about later. But she said that she learned about Tammy's death that day. Chad called her and told her that she had a coughing fit about midnight. And then same thing he told the coroner. She fell out of bed, and that's what woke him up. So she was really shocked when she found out her sister died, because she had just seen her sister 2 weeks before that, in early October. Now, Tammy dies on October 18th, going into the 19th. And she had just been to her sister's 2 weeks before that. And Chad was supposed to go with her during that visit. But Chad says, no, I got to work, you go. And she doesn't like to drive by herself, but she drove by herself. She's there for this visit. She was telling her sister she'd been clogging and doing Zumba and training for a 5K. And so Samantha said, she seemed to be in perfect health. She said, we had a family talent show for our mother, and and Tammy clogged for mom. Didn't get out of breath. She just did her clogging thing. Yeah. No issues. And she said, no, Tammy did not have an aversion to doctors. If she felt like she needed, she had a health issue, she'd go to the doctor. And she was very aware of what medications her sister was on, the antidepressant, and she was on a pain medication like tramadol, like a really low dose pain medication, because she had hurt her wrist out by the pet cemetery a few weeks before that. In 2019, she had seen her several other times that year. In April, Tammy had brought the kids up, and they had a really nice visit, but Chad did not come along on that visit, had to work. And then in July of 2019, it was Samantha's birthday. And that night, like 10:30 at night, she gets a knock on the door, and it's her sister. She had no idea her sister was coming. She's like, oh, I got a birthday present for you. She says, well, first of all, my sister never stays up past 9 o'clock. She was always one to go to bed early. Like 9 was late for her. This is 10:30. And Chad stayed in the van with the van running. So, like, in other words, she knocked on the door, hands her a present, and gets back in the van and leaves. What? Yeah. Very, very strange. Then in June of 2019, they came to visit, and she was with Chad. And she observed that the relationship between the two of them appeared strained, but she never got any inkling from her sister that her sister thought her husband was having an affair. No. So she learns about the death, and she asks Chad about an autopsy. You're going to get an autopsy done, and he's like, no. The coroner said she seemed very peaceful and she died of natural causes. Plus, it would be $1,500 for an autopsy, and we just want to get this over with. We just want to get this done with. And then she says the funeral was planned for Tuesday. She dies on Saturday. Funeral's for Tuesday. She thought that was really quick. And he wants to bury her in Springfield, where we live. They live in Springfield. She's like, why wouldn't you bury her near her kids and you? And he says, oh, no, I'm going to trust her to your care. And then here's the rub. He requested that his name not be put on the headstone. And she found this really odd because Chad liked to do all this research on family history. And one of the ways you do that is by looking at headstones. And the fact that he didn't want his name on the headstone means he didn't really want to be tied to her in any way in history. Okay. So she hosted a lunch after the funeral. Chad shows up 45 minutes late for this lunch. And when he shows up, he just grabbed the kids and left. He says, like, no, we got to go back to Rexburg. They're having a memorial tomorrow. We got to get on the road. And they had planned, her and her husband, Jason, had planned to, visit with him and get some more information. And he was like, oh, can't visit. Don't have time. Yeah. So then her husband calls him about a month later to check on him. And he finds out that Chad got married. You're married. And they ask about kids. You got any kids? No, they're all adults. We're going to be empty nesters. Okay. So then Jason William, he testified. It was probably the other way around. I think Jason testified first and then his wife. So he's the brother-in-law. And he was very close to Chad. And he said, yeah, they would talk about their marriages some. And he would, talk about how his marriage to Tammy was very vanilla, very routine, I guess there was no spice in that marriage. Anyway, but they had 5 kids and had been married for 20 odd years. So, things kind of get vanilla after a while. Anyway, so around 2010 to 2011, he said Chad started talking about these visions that he was getting. He would always say that the veil had been opened to him, or it would remove the veil. Things would remove the veil, and he would be able to see into the future and or the past. And he had these visions of the end of time, and he predicted these earthquakes. And he said around 2013 he hooked up with another author, which Jason did not like this other author, and I suspect it's that Julie Rowe. He didn't mention her by name, but I suspect that's who he's talking about, Julie Rowe. That he hooked up with this other author and was publishing her books, and there was talk about foreign invasion and earthquakes. And he says, it's just all fear tactics. If you scare someone, you're going to get them to follow you. So, but he said he believed it at the time. He bought into it, but he still didn't want to move to Rexburg. He said there was a particular time when he came down and he thought, okay, I don't want to get swallowed up by an earthquake, so I'm gonna go see what Rexburg is, because Chad had told him that Rexburg is a city of light. It's going to be the city of light and a refuge for everyone. So he goes to Rexburg. Chad shows him around, and he's like, this is not for me. Now, I don't know what was going on in their family at the time. Maybe their children were in particular schools. Who knows? But he's like, it just wasn't right for us. And I told him, we're not coming down here. He said the move just didn't feel right. Then he gets a letter from Chad later on, again, urging him to move to Rexburg, the city of light, the place of refuge, but don't bring your wife because she has been taken over by dark spirits. So send her south. What? Send her south. Don't bring her to Rexburg. Well, no wonder he didn't move there. Oh my gosh. So he also saw Tammy 2 weeks before her death when Tammy came to visit by herself. Said she was happy, healthy, and he did not notice any change in her weight. She hadn't gained a lot of weight. She hadn't lost weight. She just looked normal. And following her funeral, the funeral director in Rexburg, I don't know if you remember, Chad had contacted this funeral director and told him, I need you to plan, come down and transport Tammy back to Springfield and plan for her to be buried in Springfield. So this, and he has already testified. I summarized his testimony already, but Jason goes with him to go pick up Tammy in Rexburg. And he says he never really got a good look at the body. That's the job of the funeral director. Then, again, I told you about 30 days after Tammy's death, he calls Chad and asks how Chad's been doing. And Chad's like, have you been talking to Heather Daybell? And he's like, I don't talk to Heather Daybell. Heather is Chad's sister-in-law on Tammy's side of the family, and she's already testified, and there's no love loss between the two of them. But this guy was not talking to Heather. Heather wasn't talking to him, but Chad says, and he's like, why? And he says, well, she's running around Rexburg spreading rumors. And this is the point when he tells his friend Jason, his brother-in-law, that he married Lori. And he calls her Lori Ryan. They don't know that her maiden name was Vallow. He says Ryan. And then he tells him that he's got adult children. And then he asks Jason, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. Because Jason's thinking, well, you need to tell your former in-laws, they probably shouldn't find out, any other way. You should probably tell them. So on the day that Tammy's body was exhumed, he gets a call from Chad. And Chad wants to know if he and his wife are responsible for the exhumation. He's like, no. Why would we? No. So Chad, during this conversation, tells him that Tammy appeared to him at the day of the funeral in one of his visions. The veil was removed and he could talk to Tammy. And she told him that he should move on. And so Jason says, I don't think she meant 2 weeks. I think she probably meant 2 years, maybe not 2 weeks. Yeah. I would have to agree with that. Then on December 18th, the Springfield police asked Jason to be interviewed. So, and they're telling him, we're trying to locate these children, Tylee and JJ. And he's like, what kids? I don't know these kids. And they said, well, we've been trying to get a hold of Chad and Lori. These are Lori's kids and they're missing. And they won't take our calls. So he's like, I'll call them. Just record the call. So here is that phone call.
It is admitted, and you may publish if you request, Mr. Wixon.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do. Sir, I'm going to continue to play this call. I may stop at points and ask you some questions.
They're wanting to talk to us.
What?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk to you guys and Yeah, I have people wanting to question and talk to me about you and what you got going on, and I'm like, okay, why? And so I thought I need to reach out and find out.
Speaker Lori's here, so let me just put that speaker.
Okay, sure.
So go ahead and state what is happening so she can hear.
I have people calling me from Rexburg saying, we want to bring you in for questions and talk to you about what's been going on, and we're trying to find some kids. And what do you know about it? And I'm going, I don't know anything. What? Why? What? Okay, no, I don't know what's going on. And so,
Yesterday, they actually went to Leah's house and tried to threaten her. We're not fully sure what they're trying to accomplish. It's mainly one detective in Rexburg.
okay,
So finally, we got a hold of an attorney, and that's pretty much where it goes from here. It's just,
just everything to your attorney and stuff. Okay.
yeah, just, we can text you his name and
Yeah, probably should.
Mr. William, I'm going to pause there. You just heard yourself in the audio saying you probably should contact an attorney. Did I get that correct?
On that one, they had mentioned, or he had mentioned to me that they had an attorney they retained. And I wanted to get the name of the attorney so that I could then pass it on to law enforcement. And that was the purpose of that.
Okay. And the voices that we've heard so far, we've heard your voice. Just for clarity, who's the other voice?
The other voice is Chad Daybell.
say who you need to.
You know me, I don't deal with a lot of this stuff very well. I'm just like, okay, I'm a simple dude. What's going on? What do you guys want to do? What's happening? What's going on?
For your route, I don't know how you would even be involved.
I have no idea. They're just trying to go through and just kind of see if I know anything about anything going on. And I'm like, no, why would I? Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Well, we're trying to find two kids that along with Lori, and we just want to know if they're being, sheltered down in Utah. And I'm like, what? I don't have any idea what you're talking about. So is there kids that are not involved, or what are they talking about? So I'll have a clue if they show up at my house.
If they show up, you can just give them the attorney's name and say, we're not talking to you without an attorney.
Okay.
Because
No, well,
it's my sister-in-law. It's just a bunch of people that are starting trouble for no reason.
It's separate from the Tammy situation.
well,
Mr. William, you just heard that reference to the Tammy situation. What did you take that to mean from Chad when he said that?
When he said the Tammy situation, I can only, the fact that he had buried her soon, married Lori as quickly as he did. I don't know that it would be a situation, and I don't know what he means by situation in that, at that point.
Would it be fair to say at that point in time that you didn't have any knowledge of any investigation related to Tammy?
I didn't know of anything.
And had Chad ever discussed anything like that with you in any of the prior phone calls?
Let me backtrack slightly. Possibly the Tammy situation could be in reference to him calling previously to ask about her exhumation.
They're trying to combine it all together.
well, do you want to send me that attorney's number? Do you want to text it to me, or?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, if you can do that, that would be helpful, I'm sure.
they're just grasping at straws. I still feel Heather Daybell's behind it.
Okay.
Just, she's an evil woman and
It's her in-law that's this
yeah,
officer.
detective hope.
Yeah, did he call?
Just to inquire, at that point in time, had Heather Daybell contacted you about any of this?
At that point in time, I don't know that Heather and I had conversation about that. I can't recall.
You?
No,
Was it
he didn't call me. It was another individual. And so, yeah, that's where I'm like, okay, this is getting a little bit weird here. And so I thought I'd reach out to you to find out, what's going on. And so.
So
anyway.
we pretty much blocked them. It's a simple situation, but we just can't tell you because then you'd have to be involved.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I get it. That's fine. So at that point, they're talking about bringing down like a host of like FBI people involved and stuff.
You just heard Chad describe the situation as a simple situation.
Correct.
And he said, I can't tell you because I don't want to get you involved.
That was what was stated.
And you said, okay, I understand. What did you mean by that comment?
At that point, I felt that it possibly was a smaller situation. I didn't know what the situation was. And so at that stage, I think he was just trying to keep me out of the loop.
I'm like,
It's
I don't
just a-
want, I don't need that. It's Christmas, so, that's where I'm just going, all right, that's interesting. So, okay.
Well, if you don't know anything, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
You don't know anything.
No, I don't know anything, and so that's good news at that point in time, so, okay.
I don't know how they would have done that other than Heather. She knows our friendship.
Oh, sure, no, of course, and so, yeah. And that's why I was like, yeah, maybe I better get a heads up about what they might have to say or what's gonna happen or what they're talking about doing. And so if you've got that name on that, I'll just say, hey, look, you know what, you may just want to go talk to these people. I don't need to, be involved in the whole thing. So,
I'll text you the attorney's name. He's a calm, collected individual. We're happy with him, but
gotcha. So
It's-
on that, it's just,
Give everybody that we know, it's just so dumb.
so on that, is this an attorney that's just, is he out where you're at? Is he local? How would I, if I needed to?
he's in Rexburg.
He's a Rexburg attorney? Okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
It's Pittsburgh police who are being whatever.
yeah, they've
It's
gone,
Heather's in-law
right.
is this detective that's bugging everybody, so.
Yeah. They seem to think that there's stuff that's being hidden and that they're wanting to try to get to the bottom of what's being hidden. And I'm like, if I don't know what you guys are talking about. It kind of catches you off guard when you have them call you up and start chatting with you. And you're going, okay, I don't know anything about this stuff here. And so, yeah.
This is a different issue that doesn't involve any Douglases.
Okay. Well, with that being the case, that's fine. I just thought
We're sorry that you're being bothered.
no,
We're
it's
sorry
fine.
you're being bothered.
I think they're just trying to
Just to be clear, Mr. William, who are the Douglases that are being referenced?
That would be in reference to my wife's family. We all lived within a close proximity to each other.
Is Douglas your wife and Tammy's maiden name?
Yes, it is.
just go down every possible route and road that they can, I suppose. And so,
And so if they happen to bother Ron and Phyllis or anybody, just the same attorney.
Same attorney.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you'll get me that information, that would be helpful with regards to that. So, that
Yeah,
way-
I'll text it to you.
Bartholic, Sean Bartholic.
Yeah, it's a
is his
weird name.
what, Sean, what? Barth?
Bartholic.
Oh, Bartholic. Okay. Barth. Yeah, that is a little different.
Strange, wouldn't it? But
Yeah, that works out just fine. So,
this detective is Matt and Heather's daughter's father-in-law.
well, okay. So there's a relation to
Oh,
Heather with regards to
Hey,
everything.
or what? He is
We don't
just
know if
so
he's getting paid
persistent.
off or what, but he's bugging everybody we know for
It's
no reason.
basically a
And he won't even
custom-
call us. He doesn't call us ever to ask us any questions. He's just trying to get information from anybody else that will give him information.
Sweet. So should I tell him to call you and you'll give him the information so they'll leave me alone?
Yes.
All right. Maybe I'll do that. If they say come over, I'll say, hey, you got their number, call them. And so
It's like he's circling us rather than talking directly.
so he's
Exactly.
basically taking every angle possible and trying to come in and chat with you guys rather than just saying, hey, pick up the phone, call you, and you'll chat with them. Nice.
I changed this number
What?
and Garth gave him my number 3 weeks
They've
ago.
had the numbers.
Oh, no kidding. Well,
And just won't call me.
I'll just tell him, pick up the phone and call the guy. Hello, it's not that hard. Reach out and touch someone. So
I'll probably just start with the attorney's
I'll
number.
just say
at this
here, you
point.
know what, go talk to Mark or whatever you are at. And so anyway,
Yeah.
so
You can say that. You can say that, we've been instructed by our family attorney to not speak to any police, and here's his number. You can contact him. And that he can cover the whole entire family.
okay.
Jason, at that point, from your perspective, did you see any need not to talk to police?
I did not see a need for them not to communicate with the police.
Did you personally have any concerns if the police were going to interact with you about this issue?
No.
We heard the name Ron and Phyllis. Who is that?
Ron and Phyllis are Chad and I's in-laws.
No, that's fine. So you guys,
By our family attorney. This is his name, so here you go.
okay. Well, no, that's fine. That's what I'll do at that point.
Just to all your family.
And then I'll just turn around and say, by the way, if you want to just pick up the phone and call him, why don't you? So
Right.
anyway, that's,
That's what I told him.
oh, did he? Oh, so are the kids, what are their plans for Christmas then? Are they just gonna be hunkered down? Are they back in Rexburg at home?
Emma's gonna stay. Garth and Leah are gonna go on a little vacation.
Okay, are they,
At that point in time, Mr. William, when you said, are the kids going to be back in Rexburg, which kids were you referring to?
I was referring to my nieces and nephews, Chad's children.
At that point in time, did you have any information or ideas where JJ and Tylee were?
I had no idea.
Did you have any information at that point about where Chad and Lori were?
I did.
Did it come from Chad?
I don't recall who it came from, whether it was through him or through his children. I don't recall.
going before, we were talking, I do that trip every year that I take the kids on.
Right.
That I just get away beforehand, and I actually thought about going up to the hardware ranch, and I was gonna call Garth and say, hey, everybody else is married, why don't you come go to the hardware ranch and have a square or something with us?
I think they're gonna leave the 23rd, so.
Oh, okay. That would put him,
Then
Well-
Seth's gonna head out to, I think Garth's actually going down this weekend to.
I
talk
did hear he was coming down, he was gonna be down, they didn't make it last week, and I guess it snowed quite a bit, or I don't know what
Yeah.
happened. I don't wanna drive the Moab Pass in a snowstorm either, so,
Or,
yeah.
So anyway, in terms of Tammy's autopsy or whatever, I did talk to, you probably heard from Ron and Phyllis how that went.
Yeah, I did. I didn't. Samantha did, and I haven't been home to get a chance to chat with her about it all yet. And so,
It was one day last Wednesday, a week ago. I haven't heard a thing.
oh, no
That's the
kidding.
thing, because I have not heard a thing. If Lori and I didn't hear through relatives, we would have no idea.
No, and that surprised me because someone had said, "Hey, go check out the cemetery," and I'm going, "Okay, why? I don't go to the cemetery. I'm not the former Chad Daybell, the guy that digs up." And so I go over and I'm like, where's the grass?" Of course, Samantha at that point, okay, what's going on? I don't know. I don't know. So when we talked to you last week, I hadn't heard anything, and then a couple days later, people are going, "Hey, there's stuff going on around here. You may want to go take a look." Okay, that'd be good to know. So anyway, yeah. What do you got planned for Christmas then? Anything good? Did I lose you? Oh, are you there?
Hello?
Oh, there you are. I say, as far as Christmas goes, what do you got planned then on that?
We're gonna stay where we're at for now.
I think it's breaking up on me. What was that?
We're not going to Idaho.
No, you don't want to go to Idaho, so that's for sure. He's going to be hanging out doing I'm just curious to know how Mele Kalikimaka Hawaiian Christmas works out. So I guess I'm just jealous more than anything else. So anyway, did I lose you? Think I lost you.
So that was the last time that he ever spoke to Chad. Yep, never. Wouldn't take his calls after that. So not a lot of information provided by Chad and Lori, except that now they've got an attorney. And once the police learn that, someone has an attorney, they're no longer allowed to try to speak to those people. They have to go through the attorney. So now they have the name of the attorney. So interesting. But this poor guy, he got no explanation. Like, wait a minute, he was trying to be nice to him on the phone because he was trying to get as much information as he could, because the police were recording this. So he didn't confront him like, hey, you told me she had adult children. No, he didn't do that, which is unfortunate. Then the last person on the stand was Nicole Heidemann. She's an officer, and she was tasked with putting together Chad's story, James and Elena's story. And I'm going to put, I have actually read that story, the entire 2 chapters. She had to put this together, and I'll link that video here up in the eye if you want to click on it and save it to watch later. So this book was written over a period of time, and it was he sent it out through text messages and emails. So she had to sift through all this stuff and put it together as one story. And so what the prosecution was doing was having her read excerpts from these chapters that he wrote about James and Elena, and showing the jury the similarities of the book and what was going on in real life. So first of all, Chad would call himself Raphael, and he would call her Lily. And I think on one of the phone, you might have heard on that phone call that was played to the brother-in-law, he calls her Lily. So the whole beginning of the story of James and Elena is that they meet at this conference in St. George, Utah, which is what exactly happened to Chad and Lori. And then afterwards, there's a mention of this James writing a book, which and the book is named, and it's a book that Chad wrote. And then there's a part where James's wife dies, and Tammy died in real life. The whole idea that they were married in prior lives in the book, and in real life, he's telling her they were married in prior lives. This whole thing about the veil being lifted, I saw her and all of a sudden the veil was lifted again, and he could, see that they had been married. Somebody lift the veil over my eyes. So I'd like to see into the future. So in November of 2018, they were sealed in the temple. James and Elena were sealed in the temple. There was a Preparing People conference in Arizona where Chad is allowed to stay at Lori's house overnight, and that's depicted in this book of James and Elena. He mentions that he's going to be on a podcast with her and her friend MG, who introduced them, and in real life they were introduced by Melanie Gibb, and Melanie and her had a podcast in real life. And then so that kind of ended the day. They ended kind of a little bit early because the prosecution indicated that they were at sort of a breaking point, because she was going to spend a lot more time with this witness on the stand. So that's what we're going to see on Monday. So have a great weekend, everybody. Monday, since I've already done the Saturday recap for you for Friday's testimony, I'm going to bring a true crime story just like I did last week. So have a great weekend. I'm going to be live tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time, just coffee and chat, and I'll show you all the projects I've been working on. So take care, and I'll see you all tomorrow or Monday. Take care. Bye.